So we come to the end of our time together. This is the bittersweet portion of our seminar. But the Austrians have a lovely word. They have this word Auf Wiedersehen, which means see you later. So I think it's in that spirit that we should end our time together. I'm counting on seeing all of you again, and yes, I'm not going to let you all get away that easily. So we will. First thing I'd like to do, actually, before we get into the very final portion in which we invite Rocco and Michael and my father to say a word of sending forth, are two very, very important thank yous. So the first person I want to acknowledge, and I want all of you in the spirit should truly groan now. We have to acknowledge the great contribution of Christina Ramos. You have to stand up. Thank you. You know, any one of you who has ever organized an event before, you know that if something goes right at an event, it's because someone thought about it, someone did it. And all the many things down to the small touches that made the rooms comfortable and increased the sense of hospitality were provided by Christina and her troupe of student fellows who were able assistants. So thank you so much, Christina. Christina, as I think most of you know, was a student fellow over the last year, and one of the things I like to say to my staff internally is that the best hiring pool are our fellows, and so Christina rose through the ranks, and we were delighted to have her. And that brings me to Chase Cloutier. Where's Chase? There's Chase. Chase was. Chase was also one of our student fellows. In fact, in our very first year of running the fellowship on campus, he was on that small team of 5, I think. He became the first student lead, and Chase was really the originator of the Truth from the Heart blog that so many of you all have come to love and read, and which has grown so beautifully. So we have Chase as a wonderful example of someone who rose through the ranks, and then there was a bit of competition between my father and myself. My father wanted to hire a graduate assistant. And he intended to hire Chase, and without any fair warning, I just took Chase first. Now, the worst thing though about hiring gifted young people is that they're generally only briefly with you because their talents and their vocations push them forward. And I think some of you know, and I will tell all of you here, that Chase, after nearly a year of service, will be moving on to teach theology, right? Theology, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I have to say that when I first hired Chase, or offered him the position, I didn't realize that he had in fact did you have an offer, or you came very near having an offer from a school in North Carolina? You didn't tell me that at the time. By the way, you should use that to negotiate better terms, you know. You were kind enough not to tell me that. But I have to say that when Chase first gave me the notice of this a few months ago, I tried very hard to keep him. And I was fairly persistent in my pursuit and gave him all sorts of, he would get long emails from me with all the reasons why his career would be best fulfilled in continuing with the Hildebrand project. And I have to say I'm very impressed, though, in the outcome, and I'm only delighted for Chase's future because all of this made an impression on you, but it only confirmed his resolve to move on, and it confirmed him in his sense of vocation. And there's nothing I would rather want for someone than to move forward in that, and I'm just so happy that the Hildebrand Project has been a part of your growth and your journey. Chase was very generous also, I should say. Yesterday, he pledged $10 million to the Hildebrand Project. And we're implementing the Bill Gates Giving Pledge in our development. So we're very heavily focused on futures. We don't have enough in our current assets. But I've concluded that, so the deal basically works like this, and I'll take it from any of you, that if you win, inherit, find, even steal, depending on the conditions, $100 million or more, you agree to give 10% of it to the Hildebrand Project. And in Chase's case, the deal was a little bit tougher. I basically had to offer him $1 million back to a charity of his choice. I will sign that deal with any of you tonight. We have this on camera. We took in about 50 million last night in pledges. So I would welcome all of you to do it. And, it's fairly risk-free, right? We might even start buying lottery tickets in your name. So, provided we have this agreement. So, Chase, I would like to call you forward to say a word to our group. And again, I just can't thank you enough for your time of service. I had hoped it would last longer. On the other hand, I know that it will continue in all sorts of different ways. Besides your $10 million pledge, I'm sure you'll be back as a participant in perhaps the seminar. So, Chase.
Well, it's I need some emotional music. No. It's been a distinct pleasure, a tremendous pleasure to be working with the Hildebrand Project this past year, and I think that this week it's been a chance for us to show you some of the hospitality that Hildebrand himself was famous for. I think I was joking with one of you saying the seminar is about 45% content and 65% hospitality, or maybe it was the other way around. But Hildebrand himself, he would have evenings at his apartment in New York, and he would invite many people to come in, and he would share his reflections on philosophy, theology. I believe that's how the Transformation in Christ series originated. And it was his great personality and his great presence, his community that he shared, his great joy in the truth that really convicted his students to love the truth and carry it forward. And I know that I myself speak for Christina, John Henry, Christopher, and the whole Hildebrand staff in saying that it's been a great privilege to serve you over the past week. And me personally, I'd like to say that the hospitality which I'm able to share with you, it's a reflection of the hospitality that's been shown to me in the project through John Henry, Christopher, Dylan, who's not here, but also works with the project, as well as that of the student fellows. And so it's a great gift to be able to share that with all of you. This evening is the last evening of our seminar. It's a sad farewell. It's been a wonderful 4 days, but I wish you all a fond farewell, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chase. One special word of thanks that is a pleasure for me to make, and I think all of you need to know, the great indebtedness that we have to my dear friend, Professor Sanford. JJ, can you stand up briefly? We're going to give you a round of applause. The Hildebrand Project about 3 years ago was briefly a free agent in the sense that we were moving our location from Washington, where we were for nearly a decade, to Philadelphia, and it was a case of many doors closing. The providential message in hindsight was quite clear, and it was during this time that Professor Sanford heard about our moment of transition and made an offer that I simply couldn't pass up, and to this day wouldn't pass up, which is to bring the project here, to be a part of the Franciscan community, to have a home here, and at the same time retain our independence, our ability to do our external programming. And it's been absolutely a most wonderful partnership. And knowing the difficulties that friends of mine have had running institutions within larger universities, I don't know what to say, but we've had absolutely nothing but a wonderful time. So JJ, my warmest thanks to you. We wouldn't have this, but none of us would be here today without the hospitality and the support you've given us. Shall we clap again? So if I could call forward the distinguished, I'm going to call, Professor Crosby, would you please come forward? When I grew up, he would tell stories in which they were the stories of Professor Ibsork and his sons. And Professor Ibsork is Crosby backwards. And these were stories in which all problems were solved in philosophical ways. It was nonviolent, Rocco, you would approve. It was crafty. There was a lot of thievery, though, from other sources. And I remember the first story was the murder in the DeVille mansion. We had just seen the 101 Dalmatians, so that was sort of a prop. And I also remember when you ran out of the next plot line, it was always in the what happens next is the subject of tomorrow's story. But in any case, I'd like to call my father forward. He has been my collaborator and co-conspirator in the work of the project since day one, and so it is only appropriate that we hear from him. So, Professor Ibsor.
Well, thank you very much, John Henry. It's wonderful to be at the end of this seminar, although I must say I was a little bit concerned about your fundraising plans. You seem not to be distinguishing anymore between real dollars and imaginary dollars. And I don't know if we can build the project on those imaginary dollars.
Don't worry, Washington does it all the time.
Yes. So I coming to the end of our 4-day-long seminar, I have mainly feelings of gratitude. I can't help but think of that wonderful passage in Plato's 7th letter where he says, real philosophizing is only possible among friends in the oral communication, the oral sharing of truth. That's why he thought that philosophy can't be written down because it exists. Real philosophical truth only is spoken between friends in the setting of real friendship. And that's what we have experienced this week, as you yourself said. And so I, filled with a sense of gratitude, just want to say a few words of thanks. And first to my colleagues in the seminar, and first to Michael Novak. I have known of Michael, of course, for many years and admired him from a distance, but this was the first time we were really together, and I was able to experience the charm, the intelligence, the deep Catholic faith of Michael, and received a great deal from him in the course of the seminar, as all of us did. And also I want to express a particular thanks to my dear friend Rocco Buttiglione. You know, I've known over my lifetime many capable philosophers, many highly intelligent ones, but just a very few really wise ones. Rocco Buttiglione is a wise man, and you've, I think, experienced that gentle, humane Christian wisdom of Rocco in our sessions together, especially the night sessions where we were sharing on a more informal basis. And I might just add that this seminar was under the title of Witness, the witness of von Hildebrand, the witness of John Paul. And it was really quite appropriate that we have Rocco, who has been a unique Christian witness in Italian public life and in European public life for the last 20 years. Many of you know of the dramatic moment 10 or so years ago where Rocco's Christian faith collided with the aggressive secularism of modern Europe, and he bore witness in a manner that would have made his revered master, John Paul, proud and would have won the admiration of Dietrich von Hildebrand. So I think also, and really in a way no less, you students, you participants in the seminar, you may think that you're just receiving. When you attend such a seminar, you have no idea how much you give to those who are trying to share what we understand. It's as if I own in an entirely new way the truths I'm able to share with you when they're received by you in this setting of friendship and received with such reverence and respect. So I really experienced again and again what the psalmist says when he says how good it is and how pleasant where brethren dwell at one. That was the setting in which we worked, and I want you to know that I received as much as I may have given you. And I particularly thank you for the last night where you spoke about your aspirations for the future, and what really Michael Novak noticed and Rocco and I noticed is how many of you have, you might say, a portion of the spirit of John Paul. This past fall, Rocco and I were in New York, and we said, this is the 10th anniversary of the death of John Paul. We've got to do something to keep his legacy alive. And so that was one of the reasons for this seminar. And I must say, last night I could see, as you all spoke about the deepest aspirations for your life, how much alive that legacy of John Paul is. Andrew will be a priest after the heart of John Paul, that's for sure. And all of you who spoke gave evidence that this great saintly pope has deeply formed you, and that the whole direction of your life is different for that encounter with him. And finally, in this mode of thanksgiving, let me just mention my son, John Henry here, who may not be quite seemly for the father to thank and praise the son, but on the other hand, as father, I know better than anyone what all had to be overcome to get to this point, what the moments of discouragement were that he had to fight through. And so many have said to me in the course of the seminar that you must be very proud of your son. And so indeed I am very proud of him for what he has wrought. And in fact, I might mention what our friend, the Jewish Rabbi Mark Gottlieb in New York, said at a recent Legacy Project event, which he attended. He watched me watching John Henry, and he said, you know, we have a Yiddish word for your relation to your son, nachas, which apparently expresses a kind of deep parental pride. And so apparently not a egocentric kind of pride, but an admiring pride. And so this rabbi was admiring my nachas. And it is true that John Henry, I think, does need, and I think everybody would want to, in a particular way, recognize his work of founding and sustaining the project and making an event like this happen. So, thank you as founder. Of course, my thanks equally go to Christopher, Haley, and Chase, and the others who have already been named, but there's something about the founder and sustainer for 10 years that calls for a special recognition. So, thank you all.
The problem with this seminar is we keep having moments like this where it's just impossible to follow. I mean, it's just, it's very discouraging in a way, but I'm deeply moved. And it's been the greatest privilege of my life to have this partnership and collaboration. And I'm reminded of something that Rocco said to us yesterday in giving us his hopes for our futures. He said that the way to lead is to follow, to identify great men and women, saintly men and women, and follow. And in following, you become a leader. And yesterday I was thinking of that primarily in terms of Dietrich von Hildebrand, but I think of that in a special way, of course, in terms of you. You have expressed and witnessed to me so much the spirit of von Hildebrand. I never knew him, and yet I know, I'm quite certain that I know how he was in many of the most important ways. So thank you. Now, I would like to call forward Michael Novak. Perhaps someone could escort him up. We have a And we have a sort of a bit of a ceremony here, Michael. Thank you. So as you approach, Michael, I want to. It has been proposed in the past to the Hildebrand Project that we would issue. Stand here to my side. That we would begin issuing honorary doctorates. Now, I always thought that was a bit in excess of our standing. I mean, we're not a university. We're not even Franciscan University, which has given Michael an honorary degree. But we rethought this in light of a comment you had made. You had said that we had told you that Dietrich von Hildebrand was known amongst his friends as Dr. Amoris because he was such a matchmaker, and he loved particularly pretty young women so much, including my mother. And he brought my parents together, and so I'm grateful, of course. And Michael, of course, has a very, very lovely way of appreciating beautiful young women, and I think all of you here have experienced that. He told me, by the way, that the two reasons he came, I think he said this to us, to the seminar were to see Rocco and to see my wife Robin, who's Irish and Slovak, and so he's very fond of her. So Michael, we have decided, and I speak on behalf of the Hildebrand Project, and I speak in my full capacity as founder and president, and on behalf of my board of directors and my staff, and on behalf of the participants of this seminar, we have decided to award you, I'm going to read this to you, this is official, okay? We've decided to award you, in recognition of his contributions to the most lovely of all the liberal arts, we do hereby confer upon Michael Novak the honorary and official title to be recognized and respected the world over, Dr. Amoris, given... This is, in a way, his commencement address now.
Thank you very much for putting up with me as I rise from a chair like a rhinoceros. But I do get up. Robin, John Henry, you may think I wanted to meet Robin here because she's a pretty young lady. True. But the reason I wanted to meet her here is because she's Slovak. I mean, as Pope said of me to one of my friends, Michael says he is Slovak, but he is really Polish, which I took from him as one of the highest compliments he could pay. And I also want to insist that whatever appearances may say, I'm not flirting with any one of the young women. I'm just paying attention. And I try to pay attention to their feelings and their emotions and so forth. And my wife said to me, Michael, the reason so many women like you, and she approved, is that you pay attention. And men almost never do that to the inner life. Anyway, whatever. I just want to defend myself against any possible accusation, just so you know. Okay. I am so grateful to all of you, especially the student participants, for giving so powerful an example of the living spirit of John Paul II in your lives, and your commitment to extending that and trying to invent new ways to make it effective in new situations. You couldn't pay a higher compliment to John Paul II than that. That's what he tried to do. It's what we all must try to do. And it's so amazingly touching to see the depth of each of you in pledging to do that and laying out your dreams and your hopes. That's just been an enormous encouragement, an enormous warming. And I thank you very much for it. And Dr. Amoris Dietrich von Hildebrand wrote so movingly about love and the different kinds of love. And he rightly belongs in the company of John Paul II, and in many ways he helped pave the way for him. So I was glad finally to learn so much from somebody who knew him and knew the intricacies of his philosophy, because I don't. And I wanted to learn more. And from Professor Crosby, I sure did. And also from John Henry in his splendid little lecture on the life of von Hildebrand, much of which I knew, but I hadn't focused on the importance of certain key dates and certain key statements. And so I really found that very stimulating. Last of all, the other reason I wanted to come here is because of Rocco Buttiglione. I don't know what year it was that we first met at Sacred Heart University. How many? Might have been 30, I don't really know. It was a long time. And I remember I was giving a lecture there, and he was mercilessly grilling me in complete disagreement with me. It's a big help to a speaker to do that, by the way, because the audience's sympathies move over to you from the attack by the impolitic home crowd. It's impossible for Rocco to be impertinent or impolite. But I'm in constant awe, having been with him so many times. He helped start the seminar in Krakow many years ago. And listening to him, I'm always in awe of how much he knows about so many different subjects, and with what precision and what depth, and how much of it he can do extempore. He doesn't need to sit down and prepare for a long time. I'm sure he often does, but he doesn't have to. And it's just so refreshing. And then to feel the warmth of his gentleness and his humor and his self-deprecation. It's just a joy to be with him. I knew that would be true. I thought I was going to die before 60. That's why I wrote so many books. I had to hurry up. But it's got to happen one of these years. And I think every January that this is the year. Okay? So I'm always grateful to meet a friend like Rocco and have a week with him. It's a very precious gift. It may be our last time. I don't know. It's up to the Lord on that. But still, I think we ought to be ready for that. It's nothing to be afraid of, death. I look forward to it, as a matter of fact. And I once learned from a cardinal in Rome under Pius XII, and he was a great opponent of Pius XII on several different fronts, but he explained, I was waiting on him at table when I was a seminarian in Rome, and he explained to me that he prayed every day that the Pope would very soon be where he had always striven to be, in the presence of God. He said, you're allowed to pray for that. After all, that's what his wish was his whole life. But in any case, I want to thank John Henry and all of you for making this wonderful few days possible, and for the spirit which all of you brought to it. It was amazing. You must have surprised one another. I think you must have been amazed at some of the sounds members of your group can make. And some of the humor and good fun of so many others. And I was only sorry that I'm not young enough to have shared all your drinks late at night and all your conversations, but hey, you do what you can. Thank you ever so much. Bye-bye. I'm delighted with that. That's just great.
There was, of course, some quite evident jesting in this degree that we really did. Christopher, we have to put this into our files. We have given our first honorary degree. But the fact remains that there is some real truth in this. Michael has a great love of love and a great sensitivity to it, which I find so attractive. So often in great minds, great intellects, there's a certain disconnect with this central reality, and so it's quite appropriate that we honor him in that way. And I agree that Michael has a special gift for paying attention to women and appreciating them deeply. So I just want to add that in case I seem to only suggest the flirtatious side. Now, we will call Rocco forward, and we also have something for you. So Rocco, when he give me a moment, I suppose. When I picked him up at the airport, he told me that he had been in Brussels, and he had bought some what he described as American attire, because he said he wanted to come here, and he thought if he dressed like an American, he wanted to see how long he would not be noticed as a non-American. Well, as he was packing, his wife saw what he had purchased and said, "You may not wear this." Whatever it was, we don't even really quite know, other than that it was American. And so she put the kibosh on it and kept it. And so poor Rocco had to dress in the more formal manner of a European, quite elegant, of course. So we thought that we would send you back with something typically American, and with special regards to the lovely Mrs. Buttiglione, or Dr. Buttiglione. So if you would come forward, I will present you with our gift. So we went to Walmart, and Alex went to Walmart, and we thought that, first of all, Americans love baseball caps, so this is... USA Chuck Norris approved. So there you are. This is for you. And then we also thought, Americans... they love T-shirts. So American medal, ride with pride. So
No. I cannot do that.
The pictures may get back to Maria Pia. So
It would be too dangerous.
okay. But the cap is...
Better put okay. Well, thank you very much. I shall keep it among my best memories. I have had a certain number of honorary degrees from universities and different groups. The one that I cherish most, and I shall put it together with it, is the fact that I was named an officer of the Ransengarde. Do you know what is the Ransengarde? Not even you, Pia? Oh, too bad. I must tell you a piece of German history. You must know that the people living around the Rhine don't like the Prussians. In 1814, the Prussians became the masters of those lands. And the Prussians had a great love to soldiers, the grenadiers, the Langenkerls, the tall boys. And they also had military decorations, the Iron Cross. And then, in the Carnival of Mainz, they created the Ranzengarden, the guard of the fat ones. And they instituted the Lattenkreuz, that is, how would you translate Lattenkreuz, Pierre? Yes, yes, a plate cross. And I have been awarded, the friends of the Carnival of Mainz are awarded this decoration. And I am an officer of the Ranzengarden. And when they came to give me this, they came in 70 of them in Rome, all dressed up in their uniforms of the 18th century. And it was a terrible delusion because they had known me before my physician and my wife obliged me to shed some 20, 30 pounds. And they were in doubt whether to give me that or not to give me that. In the end, they did, with this motivation. The only foreigner and one of the very few Germans who can stand a confrontation on beer and Worcester with Helmut Kohl. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Then I have to thank all of you because every time I get into a university, I feel 20 years younger. 20 years I've been making politics, and whenever I go back to university, I feel 20 years younger. When I meet Michael Novak, I feel not 20, but 30 years younger. And Michael, it has been terrific to be with you again. And I must say, among other things, that Michael has given a tremendous witness of conjugal love. I have been also a friend of Karen, and it was an extraordinary experience for me to see her living in front of us through your words, and to see how all what you have said on conjugal love was the result of a deeply felt personal experience. You said you don't know much about phenomenology. Well, but that is phenomenology. That is the real spirit of phenomenology. And I am sure that John Paul II would have loved that. And you know how much John Paul II has loved you and Karen. And since I am speaking of Michael Novak, I must say that I must defend him. Not on the basis of phenomenology, I beg your pardon, Professor Crosby, but on the basis of the authority of St. Thomas Aquinas. St. Thomas Aquinas says that we have our eyes in front in order to see. So, to see is never a sin. And I take the occasion, I have quoted our beloved friend and master John Paul II. I take the occasion to propose you a Polish toast. In a Polish audience now, we would all make a toast. Na zdrowie pięknych kobietom. That can be roughly translated to the good health of all beautiful ladies who are here together with us. This toast has a philosophical meaning. It is a philosophical toast. Because if you want to see what is the real impact of the philosophy of von Hildebrand and Wojtyła, I think it should be that they have reintroduced the feminine within philosophy. What is the great defect of modern philosophy? In Descartes' philosophy, man begins with himself. He had not a fiancée, not a girlfriend, not a wife, not even a mother. Now, I can understand that somebody has no wife. After all, we are Catholics, and in the Latin Rite, priests do not get married. But how can a man live without a mother? Descartes has no mother. If you read the Discours sur la méthode, the first part contains a kind of autobiography, and there is no word about women. What is the teaching of von Hildebrand and Wojtyła? The presence of at least another person in us is equally evident as the presence of our I to ourselves. I am equally sure of the existence of my wife as I am of my own existence, perhaps a little bit more. And that is the tremendous change they bring in philosophy. And this allows us to speak of concrete life, of real experience, what we really are. Cogito ergo sum. Now, through von Hildebrand and Wojtyła, the ego means really myself, not an abstract transcendental ego, but me, who happen to be a male, and therefore I fell in love to Pia, not to that Pia, to another Pia that is my wife, and that's the same name. After all what has been said, it is better to make this clarification. And I've had my children, and they are part of my I. And through them, all other people I meet become part of my I. The other may live in me. And this means that man has a communal personality. And what we have been done has been an experience of communion. So, I have to thank so many people, everybody of you. I have to thank Chase. Chase has saved my life. Yesterday morning, I got up and I dressed up and I was about to leave my room, and all of a sudden I became conscious. Where are my glasses? I had lost my glasses. And I needed my glasses to find my glasses. Because without glasses, you cannot see your glasses. And he came. He arrived like a savior, like Caesar. I wanted to nickname him Caesar, not Chase, but Caesar. You know that Caesar went to his campaign against King Pharnaces of Pontus. And he arrived, he gave battle, and he won. And he wrote a letter home. Veni, vidi, vici. I came, I have seen, I won. And Chase came, he has seen, and he has found the glasses. So he could say, Veni, vidi, veni. I have come, I have found, I have seen, I have found. Thank you, Chase. But I cannot omit to thank Professor Crosby and Pia. When I see Michael, I feel 30 years younger. When I see John, I shall not say how many years younger I feel. They are more than 30. And this tells how old we both are. Well, I had some reasons to be a little bit angry to John. And we have made a long step towards reconciliation. Not completely, because John is the cause of the most dreadful humiliation in my whole life. Last year in New York, you know, John is a very elegant professor. He has the sober elegance of an Austrian professor. And I do not doubt that it is due to the influence of Pia. But now and then, he feels the need, the deep need to revindicate his American identity. And that day, he had a beautiful European suit and to a pair of horrible American jogging shoes. And we went to one of the best restaurants of New York. I do not know who paid the bill. Well, nobody paid the bill because we were thrown out of the restaurant. They said, you cannot get in here with those shoes. And together with them, I have been thrown out of the restaurant. I have been deeply humiliated, and I still feel deeply humiliated. But anyway, he has recovered, if not all, a large part of what he has done, because after all, he is the husband of Pia, he is the father of John Henry, and well, for these reasons, I think he might escape the well-deserved punishment. And I wish to conclude thanking Pia, because John Henry has done a tremendous work, and this time I've come also to understand and to esteem the great philosophical capacity that he has. And by the way, and there is a difference with many phenomenologists, his father not included. The difference with many phenomenologists is that when he speaks, people can understand him. And he does not speak the technical speech of phenomenology that most people cannot understand. And I am sure even many phenomenologists pretend to understand, but they don't really know. So it was a great discovery. But and he has put up all what we have lived here. And John was magnificent in his lectures. But Pia is not only the mother of John Henry, not only the wife of husband, she's the woman who has supported and, shall I say, tolerated both of them throughout all their lives. And you need a very high amount of wisdom and virtue to accomplish this feat. Thank you, Pia.
Well, thank you so much, Rocco. And I fully agree with what you say about my mother. I also have my German from her, which is rather important in all of this work. If we're going to thank women, though, I have to thank my wife.
May I add one word? Again, on Pia. She's an Austrian, and this explains to a large extent also her Zauber, how shall we say Zauber? Her charm. Do you know what is an Austrian? And that's one of the reasons that make me feel such a profound affection to Pia. An Austrian is a German who has been exposed too long to the bad influence of Italians. So she has very much of Italian.
The good influence. We're going to call it good tonight. But I have to thank my wife. This on so many counts. Robin has been a source of support and inspiration. The work of My Battle Against Hitler alone was a work of 10 years and involved a lot of sort of isolated work and the need to withdraw into myself. I have very strange work habits, I suppose. And Robin was always there to support me and took a keen interest in the work. So often wives don't have an equal interest in their husband's work and understands it very, very deeply. And so I am profoundly grateful to you as well, Robin. So this is the moment where we say farewell. And I just want to leave on one final thought, which is that the Hildebrand project was only briefly my project in the sense that I founded it. It very quickly became a project of a community of friends and collaborators. And this week it became our project, it became your project. And so I I send you forth, if I can put it that way, in the hope that that the community and the collaboration that we began together this week will carry on. And I thank you very much for everything that you've offered here. It is deeply humbling to lead a work like this and to realize that it can be of service to people like yourselves with all of the wonderful work that you are doing